Giana Cicchelli here to talk to you with a special guest today, Lamyka.
Belina Meki Aloha. Hello.
Hello, and today we are going to be talking about an outsider perspective of the neo-pagan community. Did I say that concisely?
Pretty concise.
All right, did I do that? So let's get started. Say a little bit about yourself, Lamyka.
Okay. Well, most people know me from the podcast that I used to do, Lamyka's Wicked Podcast, Pagan Women's Podcast. Also, I was the founder for Proud Pagan Podcasters, Pagan Bedtime Stories. The only one that I keep pretty consistent now is because now Proud Pagan Podcasters is run by Chris Orapello. Good luck. And Lamyka's Wicked Podcast, I put that on the side. And the final episode there explains why. Pagan Bedtime Stories, that's my biggest thing. I have a workbook, a pagan children's workbook on sale on Amazon. And I make my own body products and things like that.
Awesome. And I'll link to those for you here. All right, so tell me, what's the outsider perspective on the neo-pagan culture? Actually, what is the difference between a pagan and a neo-pagan?
And this just it's a personal difference. So I have three major
definitional
definitions, or I guess you could say four. So the first one would be indigenous. So you're looking at, for example, I'm Hawaiian. The things that I practice and believe in are from our people. I am of our people. And it's not always blood related, so I just want to get that out of the way because I don't want to hear about, I'm not, and you're racist, and like, okay. And then there's pagans, neo-pagans, and polytheists.
Okay.
Polytheists, that should be self-explanatory.
Many gods.
Many gods, thank you. I know some people are like, well, but they're, no.
Definition, poly, many, theist, gods. Many gods.
Yeah. Another one that's pretty easy to go with. Then you have pagan and neo-pagan. For me, pagan is just, like I was telling you earlier, some people use the analogy of the umbrella. I use the analogy of really bad chowder. That everything's kind of been thrown in there. And so it's kind of an amalgamous mess. And there's no personal feelings about that word. There's no personal feelings about polytheist, the word. There's no personal feelings about indigenous, the word. Neo-pagan is the only one that, personally for me, I kind of use as an insult. Well, I mean, I don't.
I feel like I got confused though. Did we define the difference between pagan and neo-pagan?
I'm getting to it.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
yeah.
I thought.
Pagan, it's just a grouping. Like, you know, if you have a bowl of M&Ms, they're all M&Ms. There's different colors. There's different types. Maybe some has pretzels in it. Whatever. They're all still M&Ms. Okay. But they're just kind of a mishmash. Now, a neo-pagan is, I have personally attached this, you have that basis of, it could be any kind of thing where it's pagan, but it has that very shallow and
superficial understanding of the practices.
Not just that, but it's a personal shallowness that you bring to everything and everyone. So it's kind of like, I mean, I didn't grow up Christian, but I've heard this analogy from those of my friends who did, where it's that crazy broad who is all churchy, and then at the end of the day, she's a crazy broad who ruins people's lives. Like that. Did that make any sense?
kinda, except that I feel like now the definitional, like the working definition of neo-pagan is people in the pagan community who are superficial.
They're about the worst elements in the pagan community.
But like, is there a definition of the identity that makes them worse than pagans? And because what I'm hearing is you don't like superficial people in paganism. Like, okay, but
no, it's not because
how
it's
is
not
that because of neo-paganism?
It's not as simple as superficiality. It's a very special brand of entitlement plus vanity.
So Western
plus
culture.
That kind of yes, yes. There we go. Yeah.
All right.
It's all of the worst
like,
elements.
I'm a Marxist. I mean, I'm a sociologist, and I understand Marx theory, and I'm into it, and it's kind of feeling like that's what we're veering towards.
It's for me, that neo-pagan, that label is everything that is, because there's not. It's everything that is the worst about Western culture.
But specifically by practicing pagans.
Yeah, in relation to the pagan community. How it relates into, I know it might be difficult to kind of grasp. But,
no, I get it. I'm just trying to work with the definitions. I'm just
okay.
Hold on, I have a. Okay, so maybe we'll work. And it's my sociologist brain that's kicking in right now, where I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
Give me definitions. And so let me, as I'm shifting in and out of that. So how about we go towards what you find in the neo-pagan community to be, what your observations are of the neo-pagan community, because I feel like that's what we were going to cover, right?
Yeah. And it kind of being able to point out that it's the worst elements of Western culture, that plus paganism, is, and I can see it. That's why my observations kind of come into it. The baggage, for example, is the first thing I see.
Like emotional baggage?
Not just that, but religious baggage.
So,
yeah. Yeah, or it's like I'm having a conversation with someone, and I don't understand their practices. And they allow me to ask questions. I'm not like, well, that's another thing too. But I'll get to that in a second. But they allow me to ask questions, and I'm asking these questions, and then they go into, oh yeah, it's like that part in the Bible where blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, right, and I kind of want to hit on this point a little bit. This is, again, a sociologist brain, sorry. This is a part of socialization in the Western culture into Christian cosmology and dogma, and I find that even when people are able to change their religion, which many pagans have had to in the neo-pagan community, right? It's difficult to unlearn that initial socialization into the dogma of Christianity. And so you have, like, a lot of times, and this is something I've talked about kind of a lot, people saying, well, goddess bless you. And I'm like, whoa, like, you're just saying God bless you, but with the goddess. And that's like, so you put a dress on your Christianity, but it's still Christianity. Yeah. It's not the practice that you think you're practicing. Yeah. Yes.
And let's be fair, whenever I used to, end my podcast, I would say Lady Bless. I was specifically talking about a specific goddess that's part of our family.
Right.
So,
right, and I'm not.
And my listeners knew that, yeah.
Right, I'm not actually. I wasn't.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not
usually
assuming that
like
you would say that.
In the context of like something where it's like you can almost hear the echo of how that person would have normally said "God bless you," or if God wills it, so it will be. Like if it's in God's plan. Well, if the goddess wants it for you, like it's the same, all the same sort of like ways in which we understood God in everyday language that suddenly it's a goddess. So, but it's still the same dogma. It's still the same construct. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as being outside of that, I see it a lot because I don't have that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I'm going, huh, what? Why are, or that right there is a major observation.
Can I add another point to that too? I know that sometimes I will translate what I know from like shamanic practices or witchy practices into a Christian paradigm as a means for the other person to understand me. And it's like a fine line between somebody who doesn't understand they're doing that and somebody who does. Like, in full disclosure, I was raised Christian, so there's many times where I'm coming to terms with Christian underlying dogma that like, oh, gotta unlearn that. So
but you faced it.
Right.
You faced it. That's another big element. Is you have people who, one, can't see it. Two, when somebody points it out, they get very defensive. And it's like I said, it's all of the worst elements of Western culture that I have a huge problem with, and I'm seeing it. And the laziness, the lack of responsibility towards unlearning it, for example.
Right.
And it's not just on them. That whole "you cannot be lazy" is that's one of the things that kind of connect the maybe why indigenous practitioners get along with polytheists, because at the end of the day, we know you can slide on certain things.
wait. Lazy. I feel like I'm getting a little bit confused.
But there's certain practices that you cannot be lazy about, because it's like spitting in the face of your gods.
Right.
When you keep going back to someone else's, what's supposed to be someone else's dogma, someone else's beliefs, someone else's mannerisms. I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, and this is the second thing that I noticed is this entitlement.
Right.
I went to I was a speaker, a presenter at Sacred Harvest Festival a couple of years back, and this guy comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "So are you going to do hula in your presentation?" And it just was I was like, what the hell? Who the hell? I don't even, you don't know hi, no, introduction, no, nothing.
So you had been
I'm just supposed to answer his question.
Like fetishized, or not even is that the term? No, come on. You had lost your identity and become a thing, right? Or am I wrong? Am I understanding? A symbol, not a person.
I think this relates to how I think it's another carryover of that kind of dogma where everything out there, people, person, place, thing, are there to serve you and your convenience. So no one asks, may they know something.
Right.
It's, this guy just walks right up to me and just bam. And I'm trying to be polite, because polite is a huge cornerstone. It's anyways, so that's that. But and so I'm trying to be polite, and I say to him, well, if it comes up, then it does come up, and but I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to do it because somebody wants it. It's going to come up if it's relevant.
If the spirits,
and of course I'm thrown off. So all I say is, well, if it comes up, then it will. Starts interrogating me.
Whoa!
Well, but you wrote it in your thing, or you wrote it in your description of it. I said, well, if it comes up, then it will.
I feel like, okay, this is again Western culture. This is like the bureaucratization of society. The idea of like, if there's a list and it's on the list, like there's a to-do list and you're responsible for what you said. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like he's coming at it from like a business point of view to a degree. And again, I'm not saying that that's I'm not trying to, what's the word? Come to his defense, but I think it is. I definitely think it is entitlement, and I think it is this idea of like. It seems to me a lot of magic. Well, I don't want to say a lot. Many magical practitioners that I have come into contact with.
It's a lot.
Forget that like spirit work requires fluidity, and like you have to go with the spirits, and so like yes, we have this plan, but if the spirits dictate something else is going to happen.
Or even just, shit happens.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
And if you actually cared, if that guy actually cared, he would have come anyways.
Right.
And
right.
You know what?
He was asking you because he's like, is it worth my time? I'm telling you this.
I have no idea, because as soon as I said, and that's the other thing, this guy interrupts me.
Mm-hmm.
I've answered him twice,
mm-hmm.
and then he just walked off. Like, I'm done with you, so I'm walking off now. And I was like, wow. Okay.
Right.
So there's certain, and politeness as well. And not politeness, having manners is another observation that I've seen that, no.
Right.
Almost never there.
So I'm kind of like, yeah. I'm gonna cut you off just for a moment because I am kind of feeling like maybe this should be an informational video telling people how to.
That was the fourth thing I was going to mention. People always asking me to provide them with information.
No, not information.
I'm saying that is literally the fourth one.
That is literally the next one. People are telling us, well, I feel like we should provide information about like some like basic rules of etiquette when it comes to like dealing with non-Western, like, well, actually, maybe rules of etiquette that every Westerner should know, that Western culture lacks.
I actually wouldn't even say that.
Oh.
I would only ask that you have whatever manners as is dictated by your beliefs and practices. So if you say, for example, because this is the interesting thing that I've always noticed with polytheists. Polytheists, the hardcore people want to call them hardcore and blah blah blah, are the most polite friggin' people I have met in this community. Because when you say that I'm part of this, Norse Asatru or whatever, and hospitality is a huge important thing, they are polite.
No, that's funny that you say that because that's who popped into my head. I was like Thor.
And if we don't even go European with it, you look at, my cousins in the Pacific. Hospitality is huge. Right. Breaking with hospitality is the quickest way to get your ass
handed to you.
Handed to you, really. Because that is a cornerstone. So that's all I say. Now, if your beliefs or whatever say to be a complete bastard asshole,
right.
Roll with it.
Right. And like I'm not familiar with that pantheon, but maybe
I'm sure they're a lot of fun.
All right. So superficial understanding of the practices, entitlement, not being like fluid, having expectations and then am I summarizing these correctly? Manners is this next one.
I just kind of want to really quickly, when I say superficiality about
like
I don't want to say
like shallow,
like the shallowness of it, but not admitting it to either themselves or others, because we all have a shallow understanding of what's going on around us, whether that's spirituality, engineering, or quantum mechanics. Right. But admit it.
Right.
That's
right.
okay.
Right. Don't be how you say, what's the word when you're like a know-it-all? Is that just the word, a know-it-all?
I can think of a word starts with C. I think I can put this on this program, though.
Stop using feminine derogatory terms.
I'll use it all right.
Stop it.
I'll use it all night long. No, but I mean, the first one is actually a really big one.
Oh, I agree.
People think, and this is, if you want to go back to the fourth one, which is always people always asking us for fucking PSAs. Okay.
Public service announcement?
Yes.
Oh, so okay. I thought you were saying people asking you for information about like your practice.
Yes.
But that's not
exactly
a PSA. But that's not a
public
PSA.
service now, because they're constantly asking for us to be a service. We have to explain everything about everything, blah, 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 and as if I owe them that explanation, or they have a right to that explanation. One of my very good friends, Amber, she was on Pagan Center podcast. Amazing artist. Plug Red Tail Arts. Go to her stuff. But Amber, she said one of the most amazing things to me about this. And she used it. Hers is more on the indigenous side, Native American side. So it was. She kind of talked about this story that, you wanted to learn something, you would go to your medicine woman, medicine man, or whatever, and if they said no, you keep coming back until they, say yes, or they definitely say no, and you really should stop.
Right.
But it wasn't about, going to them and harassing them or haranguing them into doing something. And if you're going to bust me for the C word, you should also bust me for using the word harangue. I'm just going to say that.
Oh, I don't know
Go to your feminist history. No,
I don't know that one.
Google, everybody, Google.
Harangue? I'm gonna
haranguing, yeah.
I was just focusing in on hysteria this last week. Harangue.
Yeah.
I don't usually hear people use the word harangue, but I'll look it up. I grew
up with the Queen's English, okay? But, that was the difference. It was to show your perseverance and your persistence. And you didn't go to them and be like, hey, can you teach me now? Can you teach me now? No, it was like, I'm going to sit here, and if you need me to do anything, whether that's take crap out, I'll do it. I really want to be that vessel for you.
I want commitment to the mysteries. Like magic takes a lifetime commitment. And so in the same way, you have to have a commitment to, like, if you don't get your way right away, to either keep studying and then go back to ask, or like know that not everything's going to come in the way that you think it should come, but you have a commitment to the greater mysteries of life. Like, you don't get, this is not like, well, they said no, so I'm off the path. Like, no.
Or, and this next one I've seen, and it's actually been kind of heartbreaking to watch it happen to people that I've called friends, because you can be called off the path. There are those people that, they actually realize, Islam is the right thing for them. Christianity is the right thing for them. And that's, what, if you can be honest about it, if you can be honest about it, then that's cool.
Yeah.
But what's sad, and I do see, is those who, I don't even know why they do it. It seems like such a waste of time and energy. It hurts everyone around them. They just continue to be in the community but lie until they kind of skitter away.
I've never seen this, but
everyone.
Okay.
I've seen it twice.
Oh, wow.
One was a really good friend, and we are no longer friends. Not because of the change, but because, honestly, of saying that you're when you're not.
Right.
Anyways, but that's...
Although, can I do my own personal public service announcement at this point? Would be like, sometimes the gods and the spirits say they're going to put you on a different path, and you have to be fluid enough to do it, and honest enough to follow follow it. And it won't necessarily take you off the magical path. It may just give you another version of magic, another recipe, right? You agree, or you disagree? Or you disagree? Tell me why.
Oh no, I personally, when 80% of your population is dead, really start to get a little beef with Christianity.
Oh no, dude, I get it. I have a total beef with Christianity.
So that's
but at the same time, like, I have a total beef with the Christianity and the way that it's acted upon in society, the way it's institutionalized, the systematic oppression of other groups, the inauthenticity and refusal to actually adhere to the Christian mysteries. So yes,
I used to be like that.
Oh, you used to be like so.
I used to be more permissive like that.
The dark times are coming for me, huh? I'm gonna be like, no.
Well, because I used to always joke with my friends that it's the toast scale. Toast, yes, like comes out of the thing. And on the toast scale, 0 and 1 is like the fluffy bunnies, and then you've got like 5, which is that's a crouton now,
right,
which is like a hardliner polytheist. I'm gonna throw this out there, like Galina, a good friend of mine.
I don't know this person.
Galina Kraskova, trust me. She has a reputation. I think they call her like a hard polytheist or something. I don't know why.
What
she lives
pantheon?
her truth. Like Norse or something. I don't know. It's hard to keep track. She's a professor on the East Coast.
Oh, cool.
And then you have like that's 5. Then you have 4, which is me.
Oh, so you're pretty crispy.
I'm pretty crispy, but I'm still damn good with butter. So I can still get along with some people, but I've got a point there where it's like step.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to those main points. It always comes back to being who you are. And when it comes to the very first one, that kind of shallow, but not being honest about it. How this relates to indigenous people, and I really want to get this out there. There are not many of us who are super duper shaman queen or witch queen or kahuna queen or something like that. It just doesn't.
It doesn't.
There's not enough of us alive to even qualify for that. I know one person in my generation who would qualify for that. He speaks like 13 languages.
Right.
Speaks, reads, and writes. 3 or 4 of them are dead ones. And he grew up trained by his aunts, his grandmother. There are very few who qualify for that in Hawaii.
Right.
Just pertaining to us and Hawaiians.
Right.
But something that's I would say almost more important than that, it would be people like beloved Queen Emma. This is
got it.
One of our queens, and she and her generation were forced to go to a school run by missionaries, and there's a lot of pushback, and they hated it. The missionaries hated it. They gave up after a while. But they were in charge of royal education and things like that. And, she writes how she had to educate herself on what it meant to be Hawaiian. So, there's never a moment where you're like, I'm the ultimate, and I was raised by the ultimate line. Stuff like that is very rare. I don't say it doesn't exist, but it's very, very rare.
But you see it popping up a lot in neo-pagan culture? Is that what we're...
No, because I just want to give encouragement to people who feel like they do have to pretend that they know such vasty blah, blah, blah. That, what, even with indigenous people, you still have to educate yourself. I wasn't born straight out of the womb going, yes, these are my Hawaiian spirituality beliefs. I'm good. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
I had to come into it, and my queen had to come into it as well. You have to educate yourself. So I just want to kind of put that out there and be like, you can do it. And our voices, our indigenous voices, are not somehow much more. Wonderful than yours.
Yes. Yes.
Most times.
No, I get it. No, actually, you're hitting on a really important, everything here is important, but like a really important thing that I think a lot of people are missing. And I want to say Sabino Magliocho? I don't know how to say her last name. Sabina Magliocho. Magliocco.
I don't know
She's
her.
a
She sounds familiar though.
she's written a lot of papers. She's an anthropology professor at Northridge. I didn't read the paper. I couldn't find it. I saw the title, but it was like the value of indigenousness within pagan communities, and there is this sort of occurrence happening that indigenous knowledge is considered to be greater than other knowledge. That if you have a connection to, I mean, I don't know if this is what Sabina wrote about, but this is something I'm noticing as well. Is that that like what you just said, the idea that the indigenous culture knows more, and so it is up on a pedestal, which I would say is part of racism I'm going to explain that in the sense that
sense.
Demonization is the same as deification. Neither one of those titles views the people as people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that is another observation that I've made is that somehow my voice becomes so much stronger. Again, we used to joke that I pull my indige card, and whatever bullshit comes out of my mouth,
right,
becomes magical pile, not just a regular pile of poo,
right?
Magical pile of
People
poo.
are gonna write books on that,
But it's like that, and so that's why I kind of said what I said earlier, because when it comes to, I would say, whatever knowledge indigenous communities might have, I wouldn't say that it's better knowledge. I would say that it's just more knowledge, and not in the sense where, okay, this is what this is you, and then this is us, and we're here. It's no, I mean, like, there are tons of knowledge.
It's accumulated over time, yeah.
But I would say they're just different types. And the best thing that you can, I think, for especially Americans, because I ain't got no love for you guys, I'm telling you. But one of the best things that a lot of the indigenous peoples can offer is that simple piece right there. Is that there's tons of different pieces of knowledge, and they're not higher or lower than the other. We're just different. And so accepting that fact, because then it breeds other mannerisms, like respecting other people, respecting knowledge, and questioning it.
Right. It's living. It's a living entity in and of itself that you have to interact with. For sure.
And that's another interesting observation that I have, is that you have, after the whole indigenous issue, you have the, okay, well, I gotta be careful what I say, because there's still, like, Native Americans out there, but I can totally say whatever I want about, those Greek gods, because nobody's around. So I can totally say whatever I want.
But what are we talking about?
Other thing,
but give me an example, because I don't understand.
That right there is the perfect example. So, for example, you have, if somebody tries to say something about Hawaiian spirituality, they will get shot down real quick. Because there's always going to be a Hawaiian in the crowd there. And so you have people censoring their bigotry because they feel they could get shot down. And then you have people not censoring their bigotry about peoples that they think are dead, or practices they think are dead. So whether it's the Celtic gods, or the Greek gods, or Sumerian gods, or you have, now with the really old ones like Babylonian, Sumerian, you have a lot more polytheists, because it takes a lot more research, and that's work. Yeah.
Right.
So they usually get left alone, because that's a lot of work. But you have the kind of the easily accessible ones, like the Celtic, the Greek, the Roman. Perfect example, and this is one example that I really wanted to use, is a good friend of mine, Kara. Kara Schultz. She's a great writer. She writes articles for the Wild Hunt, and it kills her every time when I forget how it's pronounced. Because some people say Hecate, but
I say Hecate.
She's Hellenic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she says Hecate.
Yeah, that's what I say.
But she's a Hellenic, and so when she sees people with that goddess,
Mm-hmm.
and they've turned her into this old crone broad,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and have done nothing into the roots of who she is.
Mm-hmm.
That bothers her,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's another kind of observation. It's that, well, my bigotry's okay over here
Mm-hmm.
because I can totally get away with it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I can't do it over here, so I'll just kind of keep that under wraps.
Okay.
But the bigotry is always there,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so to think that you can get away with it in one area
Mm-hmm.
and not get away with it.
I mean, as soon as you brought that up, I was thinking about how I decided to reclaim the Medusa myth. And that would be a perfect example. Like, nobody's like practicing, that I know of, practices that has the knowledge of like having lived in that society. And they would say, no, you're misunderstanding the context, because I don't think anybody's, alive that was back in that time. Yet maybe somebody is, maybe. Come see me. I worked with that sort of mythos with it. Like I had the sort of like the audacity, I guess, to just rewrite it for myself.
Yep, that would be an example of what I
Yeah.
was just talking
Yeah,
about.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I just said. That's what I said. It was an example. Like, oh, huh, that's interesting. And at the same time, like, I'm kind of struggling with that idea because I feel like I was meditating with the Medusa myth because I never understood it. It never seemed like there was a moral to the story that I could get behind. And as I was meditating over it, I sort of like saw a different version. Like that westernized interpretation of what had happened made it patriarchal, but that the original story wasn't patriarchal, and so I re-envision it in that way. So yeah, I see your smile. I see that it's still a form of that, like I can just take whatever I want. And at the same time, aren't the gods still living?
True, but you're not her.
Right.
True, and everybody has their own story.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, and it's you have, and then this is one of the last ones,
mm-hmm.
and it's that
mm-hmm.
well-meaning,
uh-huh.
reclaimy type stuff.
Okay.
I wouldn't have the. I'm just going to use your words.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't have the audacity
uh-huh.
to try and reimagine what my gods
uh-huh.
did.
Uh-huh. Right.
Because I would be really worried that they'd be pissed off at me.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I am
for doing that.
But don't you find that when your gods are pissed off, you know? I know that I know really quickly.
But I would say it this way. No.
No.
If contact with Europeans and learning about it
mm-hmm.
has taught me anything,
mm-hmm.
it's that you have to think on your own. And so that's why it's the fuzzy line. Okay, the reason I say that is because when Captain Cook first came to Hawaii,
mm-hmm.
okay, well, technically it's a second. Anyways,
mm-hmm.
but when he lands on the Big Island,
mm-hmm.
it's during a time of the year that was dedicated to Lono.
Mm-hmm.
Agriculture, peace.
Mm-hmm.
Time, no fighting, no nothing. There's games, collection of donations and taxes to Ali'i, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he glides in with white sails.
Mm-hmm.
Well, white is, part of Lono and peace and a time of peace and everything like that. He comes in, they try and help him because it was a big storm, so he comes in, his boat's all messed up, they try and help him, everything like that. There are times when or at least for us, most of the time, I should say, our gods say, well, you can do what the hell whatever you're gonna do. So, if you act like an idiot and say that, I do, or I as, law or lono or this or that,
mm-hmm.
do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I hear people say the acronym UPG. What is that? The my personal. I don't know. It's the dumbest fucking phrase I've ever heard, but it's basically like, I feel that my God is telling me that this thing is the thing.
Uh-huh.
Thing A.
Uh-huh.
Even though in every kind of historical everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's B.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I've reimagined it to be A.
Right.
And so that's a fuzzy line.
It's a fuzzy line?
It's
okay.
a fuzzy line.
Because you do agree the gods are still alive. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on board with that. And the gods are still interacting with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it's the fuzzy line.
That's why I fully say there's a fuzzy line to
it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. I'm on board then.
But what separates it is when you put yourself over the gods.
Right.
And you say that I want this to be thus, so therefore it is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this is a clear example.
Mm-hmm.
There is a artist on the Big Island that she moved here I think it's maybe a couple years ago. I happened to run into some of her art online, and you ever just want to shake somebody, just like shaking baby syndrome? Because that's some straight up appropriation shit right there.
You got to give me the example. What
this woman? This is what she makes her money off of.
Okay.
She takes imagery of gods and goddesses of our people, our gods and goddesses, and then she puts them onto these like oracle-y pseudo tarot card shit, and she has projected onto our gods what they should be. Oh. So now she's reduced. I'm just going to give you one of the cards example, which fucking floored me. She reduced Pele, this so important, she's a living being. She has many different sides to her, and she reduced her to this, like, crazy-eyed, psycho ex-girlfriend.
Oh, God.
The description that she wrote on what the card is because it's Pele was just fucking beyond me.
From what I know of Pele, I feel like her life might be in danger because of that.
And she's living on the Big Island. That's like, I'm gonna piss in your face and
oh no.
But it's like, and reduced her to this. Oh well, she's a volcano goddess, so that's fire. So she's fiery and she's passionate about things, and she gets really jealous about stuff. And I was just like, I didn't even have words after reading it. And then to top it off, to make money off of it.
Right.
There's a word for it. It's sickening.
Right.
It's the word. And so that right there, just personally for me, that's where that last observation has always been my issue. To project what you would like a deity to be onto who they are.
Side note, I feel like maybe my quick summary of what I said about Medusa might have been misinterpreted. So I just want to clarify really quickly. I was like, oh, wait. So Medusa's story ends with her having snakes for hair and it being an ugly old hag because she pissed off Athena. Am I getting confused? Athena, because she was raped in the temple is the original story. So, but what?
Usually any kind of Hellenic anything, I just ask Kara. I don't bother.
You're like, so okay.
Ask Kara.
So that's my super duper concise summary of what I remember of the Medusa myth currently, right now at this moment. So my reimagining of it was to reinterpret words, the snakes for hair being terrifying, actually having that go back to a lot of different cultures that showed their deities with snakes coming out of their head as a way of showing wisdom. So I don't know if it was so much reinterpreting it as like utilizing the words that were used and changing them with like more historically
putting a positive spin on it.
No, I mean, well, yes, but also like when you say she's a ugly old hag, that goes back to like a sexist paradigm, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this though.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that one of the, and this is why I have again probably why indigenous peoples get along with polytheists
Mm-hmm.
Is that the effort of learning
Mm-hmm.
not just the context,
Mm-hmm.
but even the important factors of language.
Mm-hmm.
I will go back to Kara on this one because Kara taught me one of the most interesting pieces of information about many of the Hellenic texts is that the word rape didn't equal
What we
define as rape. Literally, the definition was not the same. Rape meant having sex without your father's permission, which is completely different with what we say, which is, being forced to have sex.
Right. Interesting.
Know? So now you also have to look, and it's
okay, wait, really quick PSA. It is important to understand the definition of words within the context of their timeline. Or
even just the language.
Right, yes.
Yeah. So then you could even say something like, well, was she raped?
Mm-hmm.
Or did her god punish her because she was getting it on in some kind of political intrigue that she shouldn't have been doing and shouldn't have been doing in that place? I'm not saying that maybe it wasn't the complete other way. Mm-hmm. Maybe she was raped. Mm-hmm. But there should be enough will to go and find out.
Right, for sure. But
yeah, so there's that is just another facet of one of those things. I don't know, but the last observation just is kind of going back to what I was saying is the reclaiming people, and I not to be confused with Starhawks reclaiming, not those guys. I'm saying the actual word reclaiming. You have certain pagans who say that they're going to reclaim a word or reclaim a deity. You know what? There's just some real bastard deities out there.
It's true.
And maybe they're considered that way for a reason.
Do you have an example of a deity that often gets reclaimed? Let's hear it. Which one gets reclaimed?
Personal favorite is Kali.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most common. One of the most common is Kali. She is so far. She's serious. She's a serious goddess.
I had a friend. Can I tell a story? Unless I'm interrupting. Tell me if I'm interrupting. I had a friend who was from India who told me stories they had heard of families who were dedicated to Kali, that if they didn't give a blood sacrifice or blood offering every 6 months or 6 weeks, I can't remember, a family member died.
You know what? I will share this story as well. He's like a brother to me, and he recounted the one time in his life that he had ever found himself walking into a Kali temple, and he damn near had a heart attack before he got like 4 steps in, and he was like, "I gotta get out of here." There are some gods who are dangerous to work with. They're not bad. They're not evil. They are just off. And that's the other thing. It's a a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
to turn Kali into like this cute little kitty with claws, that's another thing. There is one example that has always bothered me,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of my friends, but one thing that's always bothered me is when I see somebody who's so dedicated to this particular god or goddess,
Mm-hmm.
who is a, a, a war goddess, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and then they are super puff.
What's that?
Super puffy, fluffy, light-o-love pagan.
But okay, here's I'm gonna devil's advocate
yeah.
just a little bit. Not that I don't totally see that as being. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but then at the same time, don't you think sometimes that the deity, it's themselves will interact with that person and be like, "Oh, so you're dedicated to me? All right, let's go. Take my hand, la 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 la," and then be like, "Bam."
But then it also makes you, and this actually, I'm sorry, I should have finished up what I had said earlier about Captain Cook and everything like that. The false historical story was that Hawaiians believed that he was sent by Lono and he was Lono himself, and that's why we helped him. Okay, that we were so stupid about our superstition that we would prescribe this guy who just shows up as Lono and or an emissary thereof. How this relates to kind of like what I was saying earlier is that there are just some people that are full of shit. And in that scenario, which is, it's not even historically accurate, what they said about Cook and about us, which is hilarious because if you watch Drunk History, Drunk History, the Hawaii one, and Captain Cook was they did one segment with that was actually pretty historically accurate.
We'll have to watch it
on all three of them. And I tell you, there is not a dry eye when Hawaiians watched it. Most of my friends, when they watched that Drunk History, especially about Senator Inouye, that actually was really good. Sorry, I was at his funeral.
No, I understand.
But no one calls out. This is how it links. This is another observation. No one calls out when people are full of shit. You can be wrong. You can call somebody out and they'd be like, you know what, you're wrong. You'd be like, oh shit, my bad. But no one calls anybody out. Like, I have never, and this is because I'm not part of, how do I say this? It would be impolite for me to act how I am in our community, in the pagan community, in certain instances. And this is one of them, because I tell you, there are times where I go, oh, you're a dedicate of Hecate, and from the bare Googling that I know, she's not a crone, but she's a crone, huh? Ugly and, oh, okay. You're dedicated to this war goddess, and you're a big fluffster? Okay.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like it's not my place to, because I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm not part of that pagan community.
Right.
And polytheist community, yeah. Pagan, not so much. And so, it's like, that's the other thing. Nobody calls each other out. Like, if I have problems with Galena, or if anybody has problems with Galena, which are a lot of people, but I love her, you will have other polytheists go, you know what, Galena, you're fucking nuts. Or, you know what, this is histrionics. This is, what is it? Revisionist history right here on this section. And she'll woman up and say,
Mm-hmm.
no, you don't know your history. This.
Oh,
Or she'll be like, well, okay, you know what? Fuck you. You know, that's the other thing too. It's like that room to call each other out
mm-hmm.
is there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because we have manners, maybe because, you know, we know how to be private in certain things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to make the list super duper long, but I'm just gonna, my pet peeve is the very last one.
Okay, all right.
Which is this one, which is what relates to even the calling out and stuff like that, is boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I never ever have to worry about boundaries
mm-hmm.
with the polytheists.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
There is no discussion. There's no recrimination. There's no, okay, so that's what it is? For this thing that we're going to do? Okay. You know? Pagan, it's like I got a fucking committee. You know? And you have no rights. You have no personal space rights.
Mm-hmm.
You have no right to your own boundaries, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that was hard for me to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I can give a lot of examples. There's Z Budapest is
mm-hmm.
the more famous one.
Mm-hmm.
But there was is it Michigan where they had the women's festival that now is no longer.
No, it's still going. The Michigan Women's Festival, I believe, is still going.
I don't know if that's.
Are you talking about the Z Budapest?
It's the women's music festival where, for them, they had stated that they're not going to allow any trans women.
Women-born women only, yeah.
It's
mm-hmm.
female-born women, yeah.
Yeah.
Gender is the easiest one to do this example with.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen it. I've seen entire groups be ostracized because they want to have northern, like Norse or Norse Scandinavian blood heritage
mm-hmm.
based rituals or organizations or something like that. I've seen it happen to, you know, where they get ostracized or they get harassed. I've seen it happen to them. I've seen it happen to some people even get pushy with, because again, it's like that jing and digicard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Hawaiians, oh yeah, I don't want to sound, or oh, Native Americans are going to have their okay, you know. But you do even see some people kind of push back on like the Native American stuff, and you see a lot of pushback on the women thing. Whether you want to say it's a ritual.
Interesting.
For at the end of the day,
mm-hmm.
There's a good example, and I've seen this myself, and I'm not saying I know too much about this particular temple,
mm-hmm.
but it's the Goddess Temple of Orange County.
Oh no, I do know a little bit about this actually.
I don't know too much about them,
uh-huh.
but I'm saying like, if any temple
uh-huh. says
that within their religious home,
uh-huh.
they want this particular thing
mm-hmm.
to go down,
mm-hmm.
and it does not, you know,
mm-hmm.
it doesn't kill someone, it doesn't maim someone that
mm-hmm.
doesn't want to be killed or maimed.
Right.
I'm even going to put that one in, that doesn't
right.
want to be killed or maimed.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's their fucking business.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I want to thank you specifically for reframing that that issue, because I've looked at it mostly from a gender issue, mm-hmm. and I've never looked at it as a boundaries issue. And you're right; it goes back to like, and I've been not invited to specific ceremonies, and I felt like, well, why not? And it is this idea within Western culture that goes back to entitlement, for sure. That like, well, I should be allowed to go. You can't discriminate against me. When in fact it has more to do with boundaries. I should be allowed to.
It's mm-hmm. I'm entitled to be there.
Right.
I say so.
Right.
That is one of the biggest observations.
And on that note, thank you, Lamyka, for all of your wonderful insight, and I'm sure it's giving us a lot to ponder, because I know that in our conversation I've been like mulling over like, yeah, like it's making me dig deeper. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, sorry, it went a little bit long. But,
All good, all good.
Those are the major
Observations.
major
All right.
observations.
And do you have a way that people can get in touch with you?
I'm pretty laid back and on hiatus, so if you did, you could,
Me too.
I'm, you know, like pagan bedtime stories.
Okay,
is usually the easiest.
All right.
I'm trying to delegate out some of my stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and bye!